What happens when we frac sand, or when we mine for the frac sand, right? Where does it go? Like, do you guys know where our sand goes?
To Canada somewhere?
Ooh, Canada, the Bakken fields in North Dakota, anywhere that they're hydraulic fracturing, because our silica sand is so perfectly shaped because of its age. It's so old, it's so perfectly round that it's I think the most perfect proppant that they could find, and cheap at that, to shoot into the ground and break apart the...
Do you know if they use any of it in Colorado?
Most likely they do. The only alternative that I'm aware of is ceramic man-made proppants, but they are far too expensive to rely on solely. And if you look at our sand, there's only, I think, 2 places in the world that have this grade of silica sand. The Middle East and the Upper Midwest. And so what we have here is extremely important to our ecosystem, because not only are these sands only located in certain parts of the world, but it's a filtration device, right? We're at the headwaters of the Mississippi, where the Great Lakes are. The sand isn't there just waiting to be used for our profit. It already has a job, right? And we're taking that job away from it, and now what's going to filter our water when we're dealing with high-capacity wells and frac sand washing stations that are taking as much as they want from us at a fraction of the cost that our communities pay for water.
I'm glad you said that about the sand that's there already has a job, because that is the mindset of all our local water activists like George Kraft and the people that have been working really hard on this water ordinance for our county. They'll say it's not as if water in the Plover River is not going to waste. You know, it's there for a reason. It's draining this landscape and carrying away, nutrients and and nurturing all the wildlife. It's not just there for human
Consumption,
use.
Right?
So I talked to Clint the other day about we should rename the College of Natural Resources something like College of Coexistence with Nature. So we stop thinking of nature as this collection of commodities to be exchanged right back and forth. And this is Jeff Schultz. He's been involved in a lot of our water struggles over the last 2-3 years. You've heard that same thing, right? The water's there, already at work, what we're doing is disrupting it. We're not giving it a higher purpose. We're degrading it, So, I'm glad to hear you say that.
And that degradation is something to be very concerned about. We live in a closed ecosystem. Closed, right? We're not getting any new water. We can't make new water. It's a closed ecosystem, and what we do to this water is going to be permanent in terms of our generation, right? Maybe not future generations. There's a chance for it to rehabilitate itself, but we need to start working with the water, not against it. And I think when we think about water, we have to remember that our bodies are made up of water. The majority of our body is made up of water. So when we talk about water rights and all of that, we have to realize that in order to fight for water, we also have to fight for every one of us, because we all carry it. And I think that speaks to my more holistic scope in terms of justice, because environmental justice is tied with social justice. And both of those things are tied with sustainable, healthy communities. I'm not saying wealthy, I'm not saying rich, I'm not saying well off, I'm saying healthy. Yeah. You can't put a price on health. People who have access to health care can thrive. People who do not thrive, right? They do the opposite of that, they wither, and we can't allow our fellow Wisconsinites to be in those circumstances, right? And
this is Vince, by the way. He was on that. He was on that first frac sand. Remember the frac sand tour?
Oh yes.
Well, that was quite educational. Yep. Vince is a Red Cliff member, so.
I'm Prairie Band Potawatomi, so
you do it.
you're pretty good in my homeland, right? But one of those things, when you guys were on your tour, did you notice that a lot of the frac sand mine locations were targeted very specifically, like they do with indigenous communities? They manipulate the system in a way where dominant society communities, right? They have these public hearings and they can say, we don't want this or we don't want that, right? And then other communities who are marginalized often don't have that same opportunity or access to the opportunity. And so what I'm getting at is our Amish communities, right? If you look at the majority of the Amish farms on Highway 95, when you're coming towards Black River Falls, you will see almost behind every one of their farms is a frac sand mine. And why is that? You know, we know that they don't necessarily participate in our political system, but why are we not advocating for them? Right? They're a part of Wisconsin's heritage. They're our relative. They're our friend. But our other communities are safe from the frac sand mines, but the Amish aren't.